In this video, we're going to talk about customizing your prompt. Yes, that prompt we've been seeing all this time, the Jeff at Linux in the directory, that is completely customizable. It's defined in an environment variable, and it's something that we can set. The variable is called PS1. You can see there's a lot of gibberish in there, and we'll talk about what that gibberish means in a minute. It's a set of instructions, basically, for what to set my prompt to. That gibberish there is defining the colors, it's defining use my username, use my host name, use my current directory, things like that. Let's back up and let's do a really simple example. In the old days of the Bourne shell and the Corn shell, the prompt was a simple $sign. We can just set the prompt to a string, $sign and a space. Notice I used the single quotes. Single quotes tell the shell, don't attempt to interpret anything in here. $sign happens to be special to the shell. For this prompt, it's a good idea to put this in single quotes because you may not want things to be interpreted by the shell before it sets the value of the prompt. And it's good to have a space after it. If I said PS1 equals just a $sign, I can type commands, but it looks kind of cluttered there. So if I say PS1 equals $sign space, looks a little better. It's good to have a space after your prompt. So my prompt is a single $sign. Commands work, ls, ps. There's nothing special about the prompt other than it's what tells me that bash is ready for me to type a command. You can put anything you want as your prompt. Here, I'll do double quotes because there's nothing to go here. Speak master. You can set your prompt to something like that. When you first learn you can do prompts, you tend to do stuff like this. And it's really, really funny. You might even think it's the most hilarious thing ever. Take my word for it. After a couple days, or if you're easily amused, maybe a month or two, this will get less funny and you'll want to actually do useful things with your prompt. But it's good to have fun sometimes too. Now, if I start a new shell, I've just set the prompt for this shell. If I start a new one, I go back to the default definition of the prompt. The things that actually define the prompt are this \u is my username, this \h is my host name, and this \w is my working directory. Everything else there is for another purpose. And all this stuff is defined in the man page for bash. If you haven't looked at it yet, the man page for bash is big. Now there's a section here on prompting. Search down for that. So here's all the things that can be put into your prompt. The host name, new line carriage return, the name of the shell, the current working directory, the history number of this command. This one here is kind of interesting, \$. In the old days, it was customary for users to have a default prompt of a $sign and for root to have a prompt of a £sign or a hash sign. \$$ actually sets the prompt to be either one of those. If you're root, you get the $sign, otherwise you get the $sign. All kinds of stuff can be set. Let's go with just \u at \h \w. You see there's the $$ there. We're just going to go with a $sign. I get functionally the same thing, but just without the color. That's what those little numbers and brackets and things are. Those are defining colors. Let's make kind of a crazy over-the-top prompt, just using a bunch of those things. These are all pulled from the man page. You can go back, look at the man page, and see where all these things came from. \s \V with \j jobs, \n running at \t \d \n \w \n ready set go with a space. I have set a multi-line prompt. Tells me that I'm running bash, what version of bash, how many jobs that bash is currently running, what time it is, what date it is, what directory I am in, ready, set, go. It's still a prompt. I can run ls. So you can get pretty ridiculous with a prompt. Let's set the color as well. All those little escape sequences. These are basically instructions to the terminal to do a color, and they're a terminal specific thing. We'll kind of steal from the stuff up top, and let's do a \bracket \e, which is the same as the \033. This is something to Google for if you want to look up how to do the colors, because I do not have these things memorized, and nor will you. backslash s \v with \j jobs \n running at \t \d \n \w \n ready, set, go. And literally what I did to prepare this was I did some Googling on colors, found some pages where people listed out tables of what the different colors were, and then I experimented with some colors. And this is what I picked. Now there's an important one to add at the end. If I leave it at this, I will set the color to that when I set the prompt, and everything that happens after that will also be that color. So the last thing we want to do is we want to unset the color, and that's a 00M. So that 00M that you see on the default prompt, and now that I've put in here, that says go back to default colors. So if I do that, I've now set kind of a yellow prompt. My commands come out as the default color for this shell, which is white. Now I can kind of visually separate my prompt from the rest of what's going on. Feel free to play around with this. Anything you do is specific only to this shell. If you remember, we started a shell. So when I exit, everything goes back to what I had before. So this is just specific to that shell. You're not going to break anything. You're not going to cause any harm or anything by experimenting with your prompt. Now, the corollary to the fact that it's nice, it goes away, you're not going to hurt anything, is that it goes away. So if you find something you really like, make sure you save that somewhere, write it down so that you can do it again. We'll talk about how to make that your default. But for now, just experiment, write down things you like, save them somewhere in a file or something like that. If you want to play with colors, do some Googling, find references online.